Let's talk about another company in focus. It's a Nifty 50 company that has given shareholders a good return and a lot of stability in a volatile environment. Tech Mahindra. CP Gurnani now joins us to talk about the outlook for the tech sector. He's, of course, MD and CEO at Tech Mahindra. Mr. Gurnani, thank you so much. Good morning. A lot of clouds around technology companies right now. I want to start off with what's happening with the visa situation, sir. Every election year in the US, immigration comes back to the forefront. The H-1B visa gets back debated very hotly. How closely are you watching that situation, and how big an overhang can the new reforms and the new proposals be, sir, for the tech sector?
To me, I have been a huge advocate of the maturity of the US immigration laws. I personally believe that the whole H-1 visa system that is currently in vogue, coupled with the L-1 and L-2 visas, is one of the main reasons why US economy has flourished and how India and US trade has only increased. So I think it's a very, very elegant process. It is a very mature process. I know that the two senior senators are proposing some amendments to the current visa bill. I'm not surprised because end of the day, this is an important issue for governments all across the world. Governments do realize it is that even within their own countries, labor or skilled workers will move from one location to another. It happens in India. A worker in Bihar would go to Bombay or a Punjab for better opportunities. And the reason a Bombay or a Punjab will hire those skilled workers is because they need that skill. It happens within US. It will continue to happen cross-border. That is the only way to flourish the industry.
Yeah.
We at Tech Mahindra are very, very conscious that our business model depends on, but it's not only us, it's a business model of Accenture, it's a business model of IBM, it's a business model of many, many large American companies depend on skill availability, skill management, and skill development.
Mr. Gurnani, I want to understand from you at a time where over the last 48 hours, sir, we've gotten a lot of commentary from your peers who've warned that second half of the year is going to be tougher than the first half of the year because, the visibility has gotten slower. Would you agree with that kind of assessment? Is the pickup in the second half going to be a lot? So traditionally, Q3 is a soft quarter for technology companies across the board. But do you see that there is a visibility concern going into the end of the year and into the next year, given IT spends are not really picking up as much as one had anticipated?
Maybe I have a contrarian view.
Okay.
I do believe that H1 was interesting. The transformation of the industry is happening. That the reality is every boardroom now talks about IT and data security. Every boardroom talks about innovation. Every boardroom talks about digital disruption. When I look at the opportunities for Tech Mahindra, I am very clear is that IoT or any of the new technologies clearly play into my strength area, which is modernization of networks or running networks better. That's number one opportunity. Number two, anything to do with digital ultimately is about mobility, you've seen that Flipkart or anywhere else in the world, when people go to the e-commerce sites, they no longer go to the web. 70% of the business has moved to the mobile solutions. So I think mobility, network modernization, digital, new enhancements, I think all are opportunities, and I would like to believe that my H2 will be slightly better than H1.
And that's a positive cue coming in that shareholders will definitely latch onto. So I'm going to, talk about that Internet of Things that you talked about. You've recently collaborated with SAP as well, Mr. Gurnani. How important is that collaboration, and what do you hope to benefit out of that deal that you've signed on with SAP, sir?
I think again, SAP is one of the very, very important and a strategic players in this business. I'm a huge admirer of Bill McDermott's leadership, and I personally believe that SAP is making all the right moves to create enterprises of the future. And I'm happy that we are collaborating with them on designing the various kind of systems. And as you know, they bought some of the very interesting companies in the last few years. So I'm very happy that we are collaborating. But more important is that Tech Mahindra is saying that we would like to be a prominent player in the IoT market, in the system integration market. And if you were to loosely translate this, you would really say is that whether it is a Digital India initiative, whether it is a smart city initiatives across the world, I mean, they will all be built around sensors, analyzing the data and being able to use the data to improve your processes and improve your customer service. So I think we are very, very happy that we are participating in this overall transformation of various programs around the world, and I do believe SAP is a great partner.
So you talked about Digital India and some of the other emerging verticals as well. Do you see a significant pickup in that in the second half of the year as well as FY15? Because looking at the quarters gone by, I'm not going to get divulged into financials, but public services and healthcare, you had commented that these would be two verticals that would see large pickups going ahead. Would you stick to that, sir?
Again, my current observation is that I expected that pickup to happen much higher in Q3.
Okay.
Particularly on Digital India.
Okay.
I would like to believe is that while the guidelines have come in, but many states are still formulating their own strategies of how they fit into the program. So I do expect the pickup to be much higher in Q4. Q3 is relatively slower than what I had expected.
Sir, two acquisitions that you had done, LCC and Comviva, how is that playing out for the company?
I think Comviva has been great. I mean, Comviva emphatically brings us in the product engineering space, emphatically brings us in a product space, and also on platform where we charge our customers on pay-per-use. I'm very, very happy on the Comviva, not only the acquisition, but some of the finest leadership that we have in Comviva and how they've integrated in the whole Tech Mahindra fabric. LCC, as I said, network modernization, network optimization, running networks more cost effectively is clear focus areas of the telcos as well as the enterprises around the world. I think we have made a phenomenal acquisition. We have a phenomenal leadership team out there. In terms of profitability, there is a lot more work to be done. But as I told you right in the beginning, when we acquired this company, early January 2015, I told you it will take 2 years for us to, make this company, bring in the level of growth and profitability that we want. But it's a very, very clearly a jewel in our crown.
Well, Mr. Gurnani, I can tell you that the Tech Mahindra stock, one of the only IT stocks that is gaining in trade today, Infosys down about 2.5%, HCL Tech down about 2% in trade, and TCS as well down 0.5% in trade. So you were pursuing 4 or 5 large deals in the communications vertical the last time we spoke in the last quarter. I want to get a sense from you on the decision-making process. Is that slow as has been over the last 18 months? Are deals taking, especially larger deals, taking longer to close? And what's the deal pipeline really looking like?
Pipeline is strong. Unfortunately, the most of the communication companies, I think their focus is more on M&A right now. CapEx spend is relatively slower, and decision cycles are taking a lot longer than we have seen in the industry. So I would like to say is, while the need for game changing, the need for moving to the data driven society, the need for a video driven society for telcos is very, very high. The need for them to provide connectivity for smaller enterprises is very, very high. I think when it comes to translating it into the support systems, which is where we come in, whether it is for IT or whether it's for networks or whether it is for business shared services, I think those decision cycles are a little longer. But the deal pipeline is good. That means that we are discussing, the closures are relatively slow.
Okay. Mr. Gurnani, last question to you before I let you go, sir. There is a large optimism on your margins going ahead by most of the brokerage reports that I've poured over after the earnings. If you could share with us any guidance that you have on margins. If I'm unable to extract that from you, as you're quite tight-lipped on financial numbers, sir, what is the outlook on pricing and how is pricing played out in Q3 and the outlook for Q4 as well, sir?
I think the pricing environment is stable. I mean, I have a challenge, which is my 23% of business comes from rest of the world, where currencies are a challenge against the US dollar. Similarly, on Europe also, we have had some areas where the currency is a challenge. So I can only say is that on one end, I'm very proud that my book is about 50% US and 50% outside US. But the other hand is that, you have to pay the price of globalization. That means my Australia business between the last year and this, volume growth is 30%, but currency depreciation is 30%. I mean, Malaysia, same thing. I mean, as you know, we have one of the largest development centers in Malaysia, but Malaysia currency is depreciated by almost 25-26%. So I can only say is that we are enjoying globalization and sometimes paying the price for globalization. Pricing environment is steady. The second part on profitability, I think, I mean, we as a company, we realize that there is a lot we can do in driving synergy benefits by improving utilization, by improving yield management. We're working on it, and I have never given any kind of guidance, so I'm not giving the guidance today also.
Well, I had to try, sir. I had to try nevertheless. Thank you so much, Mr. Gurnani, for taking our time. Have a great day going ahead. CP Gurnani there talking to us about Tech Mahindra's outlook. Very bullish on the second half as well. Instead, the first half was also very good for Tech Mahindra. At least the second quarter has been quite good, and they're expecting a revival, at least in Q4. Digital India has been a slow rollout, and they do expect a lot more benefit come into Q4. The critical point there, he's saying the deal closures are taking longer than had anticipated, something we heard from Infosys as well. And currency movements will be a critical problem for anybody with large exposure to the rest of the world, not just to the US, as volatile moves in the EM markets is making tough to protect and hedge the revenues at this point. With that, it's a complete wrap on In Business with Power Packed entirely over the last 30 minutes. Over to Market Movers with Priyanka with all the stocks in action today.